Greetings, Mind Crafters, and welcome to another exciting Minecraft, podcast episode. I'm super stoked, and I'll tell you that speaking of stoked, I'm looking at this gorgeous fire crackling away. It's a December day, though I try not to make things stuck in whatever month or whatever weather or whatever day of time of day or whatever. You can listen to this in July, and hopefully it'll be hopefully you get something from it. I just like to kind of describe so you can get the visual because I kind of feel like I'm having this chat in my living room with all of you. Actually, I am having this chat in my living room with all of you, all of my awesome listeners. And so that's the vibe right now is like really peaceful and calm and cozy. And that's it. So my inspiration today is did I say my name was Kimberly Quinn? I think I did. Well, if I didn't, my name is Kimberly Quinn. My inspiration for today is Sarah Von Brednek. Once again, I come in and out of different books that I read, and I watch a slew of podcasts or listen to a slew of podcasts myself. And she's got some good stuff going on for December. And today she talks about Gold Star Days. And remember again, Sarah Von Brednek is the author of Simple Abundance. It's a book that I would read when I was a young mom in that stage of the million kids home. And I look, it's only like the daily little, not meditations, but the daily little uplifting little, stories that she writes really were just so wonderful for me back then. Just started my day off to such a great start, but it's ageless. So in my fabulous 50s, a fabulous 58 until today, actually, and I'm a fabulous 59. I got to catch up. And so, anyway, she talks about gold star days, and she starts out with a quote typically, and this one is by Sue Bender, and she says, maybe one of these days I'll be able to give myself a gold star for being ordinary. And maybe one of these days I'll give myself a gold star for being extraordinary, for persisting. And maybe one day I won't need to have a star at all. And why I kind of zoomed in on this one, I also was recently listening to Wayne Dyer. Love that man. And he just, gosh, he contributes so much to the world, I think, as far as helping people along their authentic paths. Anyway, one podcast I was listening to very recently, I've heard it before actually, he talks about having a conversation with his 3-year-old daughter, and she was in preschool, and she came back with a gold star. And she's like, "Look, Daddy, I got a gold star." He's having a conversation with a three and a half year old about, it's nice you got a gold star, honey. And basically, I'll make this shorter because he talks about it for a little bit. It was great about how he kind of explains to her in 3-year-old terms that the gold star is nice, but it's also those are for people who need them, kind of thing. And it has a funny end because she kept getting one after the other. And eventually she brought home a paper and it didn't have a star on it. And Wayne Dyer says, I think her name was Sky, but I could be wrong. He had 8 kids, so I can't keep them all straight. But he said, Sky, let's just say it's Sky. Sky, how come yeah, where's the star on your paper? And little Sky said, oh, I gave it back to the teacher. I think maybe she might need it. And it was just so, and the whole his part of his podcast was about this very thing that we're talking about today. Now, this little girl is only 3.5 years old and certainly not able to grasp in adult term, obviously, the ego and all the implications of, caving into needing other people's approval and everything. She was just 3.5, and on that level, it's actually was a really cute story because he didn't get all deep with it. She just kind of rose above it, like you're right. I don't need that. I know my work was good. It was kind of a really good message. Um, so this is kind of what I wanted to talk about today is gold star days. And Sarah starts out by talking about herself and how she hasn't yet gotten to the point where she doesn't need gold stars, and how they gleam and they're golden, and she refers to them as five-pointed proof, of her accomplishments in that day. And she said, especially if it was remembering to treat myself with loving kindness and that also it seems so much easier to treat others with loving kindness than it does ourselves. That is so true. I had to talk with my Minecrafters, kind of throughout the course when we talk about self-care, because it seems so much easier for some of us, and it's sometimes, context wise, to treat others with loving kindness and not so much ourselves. And that obviously comes down to self-value, because we can't really care for very well a self we don't value. So that's sort of the truth right there. So Sarah says, back in the days of blackboards and chalk, gold stars came in a small cardboard box. You'd take the lid off to find 500 gold paper foil stars, stiff with dry glue backs. Running your fingers through the small pile of possibilities, you hear the rustling of self-worth. This is kind of what we're talking about here, right? And with adults, we can get that need for approval, that need for proof, of our accomplishments is obviously, it can give us, it can really sort of uh, tap dance on our own sense of self-worth. There's no question. And then she says, nowadays gold stars get pulled off self-sticking sheets. You don't even get the taste of success on your tongue. But I've gotten them just the same. Boy, that does bring things back. Even with stamps. I remember when you're sending out Christmas cards way back when, to lick every single stamp. Think of the cleanliness, the saliva moving around in the mail across the country and world. I'm just saying. And I'm not a germaphobe. Now you just peel them off. Like, it's kind of like, why didn't we think of that sooner? But anyway, back to gold stars, which is what we're talking about, and how Wayne Dyer, I mean, it was very positive. I don't want to paint the wrong picture here. It was very positive how he explained to his little girl, good for you, honey, good for you. And then the funny thing at the end, when she gave it back to the teacher, she wasn't sad. She was really happy about it. No, I think you need that more than I do. It's really kind of funny. And then Sarah proceeds to tell a story about a friend of hers who had a different memory for Gold Star days. And she tells us about her friend's mother maintained star charts for each of her 8 children. I remember doing this way back when I was therapizing, because I was the child and teenager person on the team. There's definitely a window for ages that actually works, but it's behavioral modification. Obviously, it's star charts, like the cutesy common term for it. Um, but it works really well for like the 6 to 8 or 9s, maybe even 10. Anyway, every Sunday night after dinner, she said the past week's reckoning would occur in the dining room as the gridded charts revealed who had excelled at homework, chores, personal hygiene, and behavior, and who hadn't. Wow. For when I did this as a therapist, it was like really small, basic stuff, and not definitely not shaming. Anyway, so the homework part, I'm not sure I would add that in there, but not wasn't my shtick. Okay, the striving for gold stars was supposed to be a motivational game. However, accumulating gold stars under duress wasn't fun for Anne, despite the fact that she excelled at everything and was a model good girl. See, that's the thing. When I was talking about therapizing, it was like for super basic, really basic behavioral modification. To have that, what Sarah Von Bresnik is talking about with her friend, where it's kind of measuring up the whole thing with your homework ability and all that. I think, wow, it's just a little different. Anyway, for her, the pressure of constant evaluation was excruciating. Of course, it was. I don't even want to judge this this mother of this child, who I have never met and never will meet. I think, because as parents, we certainly are all doing our best, and this was also a really long time ago. I also think a lot of times I find, I was just talking about this with a friend. Who was I just talking about this with? It was actually my eye doctor. Anyway, I think it was it's my eye doctor. How often we don't realize we are judging like way previous behavior, decades and decades prior, based on today's norms, and how that doesn't really work. So this is definitely an example of that, because the times were super, super different. Back, I'm going to guess, because the child's her friend and this is her mother. This is probably back in like the 20s and 30s, I'm thinking, if not even, I don't know, somewhere in that range, I would say. Anyway, to judge that by now is kind of silly, but and then that said, and it was then Sarah actually goes on to say, opening the cardboard box was a psychological and emotional stretching of on the rack of self-respect. Let's say that again. I kind of stammered a little bit. Opening the cardboard box was a psychological and emotional stretching on the rack of self-respect. Of course it was. And so this whole idea of the the gold star day, she's going to get to that because obviously when we are holding a measuring stick up to ourselves on a daily basis, think of what that's, sort of doing to our self-esteem and our ongoing feeling of self-worth. So she says, but the gold star days are very different when we give them to ourselves. Okay, I knew she was turning around with it. When you give yourself a gold star, we'll say when you give yourself a gold star, sticking it to an empty calendar block, the star twinkles, winks, and whispers, good for you. Good for you. Man, I love that. I have to tell you, I gotta chime in here. Though I do not I do not have a star chart where I get, I actually have stars and put them on the calendar. I will tell all of you that if I feel like I was out in the actually it happened just this week twice. I was out in the woods with Giovanni in the beautiful, just intoxicating winter wonderland, just really early in the morning. No, we rarely see people out there anyway. And that orangey hue with this when the sun's coming up. Oh my gosh. And I both of those days, I had not intended to do a video for all of you on for a Minecraft video. I was so inspired. I was so inspired by the thoughts that came to me in both of those days. It just rolled out of me to the point that I don't feel like I can even take credit for it. It was just rolled through me, just like a vehicle. It just rolled right through me. And when that happens, I do this kind of little gratitude dance in my snowshoes or in my hiking boots, depending what time of year it is. And I say, "Way to go! You crushed that one, Kimmy." And I say, "Hey, Giovanni, we just crushed that one." Not meaning in an ego wise, just meaning like, "Wow, you had an a genuine." I believe very much in the divine connection, of course, a genuine, inspirational, creative, very connected impulse that he and I followed through on, and it worked out really, really well. And I do a high five, like an air five to myself, and that counts. I think it's kind of a gold star day, right? You get a good video that you just felt so authentic and so natural, I felt in the zone, connected to everything, and at one with the universe. And I say, yay, high five on that one. I also want to admit something to all of you because I don't I'm not gonna say I'm embarrassed because embarrassed is also the ego, actually, right? And I don't do it frequently because it's not good for you. What was it? I felt like I did something. It was something that went what was it? I forget if it's something really good happened to me professionally, and I forget if somebody said something amazing. It was more than that though, and it's something. Oh, I know. I secured or I don't know. I acquired, there you go. I acquired a client to do a speaking thing for under the on for my Minecraft business, and it just all went so smoothly. They were amazing and fun and really regular people, and the Zoom call went great. And I thought, yes, I totally took myself to Burger King. I know it's to admit that to the world, not that the world cares about my Burger King, indulgence, but I was like, I just was in such a go, yay, hooray for me place, not in an ego sense, just gratitude. And also I've put a ton of effort into launching the Minecraft business, a ton of effort, not to mention financially. And I just felt like I'm going to celebrate. I'm having a one woman party in this Jeep right now. And it's great. And I'm grateful and I'm loving it. I said, thank you for the burger. Thank you for the hot fries. And most of all, thank you. Well, there's a big most of all is like health and all that stuff, right? And also just thank you for this awesome new client that I'm going to love working with. So that's another way to celebrate a gold star too. All kinds of different ways. And sometimes it's always small stuff because my reckless spending days are way over decades and decades over. I also recently bought myself a gnome sweater because it was for Christmas, and it's a Christmas gnome, and that was another little celebratory thing of Go Yay Raw. I think it was like $16.99. That was so. I mean, it's good to really reward yourself with your own gold stars that are simply authentically celebratory. That is the main point. Whether it's a gnome sweater, Burger King, or a happy dance in the woods on snowshoes, it's all about authenticity and not a measure of your self-worth. Because remember, when we're in alignment with I like to just call it our God self, because our soul, right, is obviously connected to the divine. So when we're in alignment, that's all authentic, right? When we're feeling shameful and all these, these excruciating things, your authentic self does not agree with any of those messages. None of them. No matter what mistake you made, no matter whatever, because your spirit is perfect, right? Right, yes. So when we're feeling all those negative, bad self worth messages, it's because we're out of alignment. We're out of alignment. So when we are in alignment, we're doing the happy dance on the snowshoes. We're doing car karaoke after that awesome Burger King burger, because I do car karaoke. Because the reason I do it in the car is because I couldn't hit a note with a 2x4. I'm not self-deprecating. I have a lot of gifts. That's just not one of them. But anyway, the gold stars, when you do them for realsies, as they say, my Minecrafters say, and they're authentic, you just feel at one with the universe. Unlike the sticky gold stars that where we stick them in the middle of our forehead or on a calendar, or whatever. Um, that's more about the ego. Okay, so Sarah says, I particularly like to give myself gold stars when I'm embarking on a new self-nurturing pastime, or reviving one that has fallen by the wayside. Walking, creative movement, healthy eating. Oh, there goes my Burger King story. But anyway, well, that was healthy for my mind and my spirit in that moment. That Burger King fed my soul. I'm seriously, yes, because it was a happy, happy, authentic moment. Anyway, to do that too much, not so much. But that once, absolutely. Anyway, let's start that sentence over. Okay. I particularly like to give myself gold stars when I'm embarking on a new self nurturing pastime, or reviving one that has fallen by the wayside. Walking, creative movement, healthy eating, writing my dialogue pages, meditation, slowing down. Oh, that's a good one. Slowing your roll, definitely. Balancing work and play, also good. Balancing work and play, that's really good. And then she says, the spirit may be willing, but all too often the flesh gets sidetracked. Isn't that so, so freaking true? So when we can just get back up on the horse with whatever, all those things she mentioned, the health, the fitness, the journaling, instead of like doing a whole shame thing. Oh, I fell behind. Oh, I missed 2 days of my gratitude journal, whatever, like that. No, instead of that, just say, okay, apparently I missed this. Back on the horse, just back on the horse. And then just go ahead and write in that gratitude. Or you just missed this morning. So write it at night. I mean, who cares? And then just, give yourself the mental gold star of, man, I got picked myself up. Good for me. So she says the extraordinary days don't need gold stars. The extraordinary days don't need gold stars, but ordinary days sure can be brighter with a shiny, five-pointed pat on the back. I could not agree with Sarah more than that. And that was what people might judge the king, but honestly, once in a while, I tell you, it feeds my soul. I'm not even joking. And also another soul feeder is I had a nice, very uplifting phone call, because you can reward yourself this way too. I had a lot of grading to get done, and marketing stuff for the business, and my reward was calling my best friend from growing up, my rooftop friend. And what a reward it was. I was out in the woods where I don't usually talk on the phone ever. I also don't get reception out there. But this was a gift, and it was different. I took her on my walk with me. I literally don't do that like ever. I think that was the first time in years. And I just enjoyed her, and we just had this authentic. It was such a lift. It was a reward for both of us, because we had already done stuff, and it was just a time to just chill and to just have this authentic chat. So that's another way to just really give yourself the authentic pat on the back. So that's what I want to say. On the ordinary days where you got grading done, that's my world, or you did whatever unpleasant. Maybe you had like an unpleasant conversation you had to have. Reward yourself when it's over, and nobody needs to know. You just had a confrontation you had to have, it was necessary, it really sucked it out of you, and then go treat yourself to a smoothie or something, or the king, right? And anyway, gold star, pat on the back in any way that's authentic and good for you, and that's it. So gold star, slap a gold star on your ordinary days, and treat yourself as you would your best friend. There you go. Or even the kindness you give a stranger, just give it right back to yourself. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the gorgeous Northern Vermont in December. And happy birthday to me. Have a mindful day.